Okay, great.
Leave me.
Okay. Thank you all for being here today for our first Lunch and Learn of 2024.
Woohoo!
I want to, while we are waiting for a couple people to log on, I want to give them a couple seconds. I wanted us to be able to go around and introduce ourselves. Extension, or not extension, I'm sorry. Change my brain. In the middle of some extension meetings and doing this now. Missouri Community Betterment board members, we've got some slides coming up after this that introduce us, but some of our other community members, I'm just going to kind of go down who I've got on my screen and kind of call folks out if that doesn't bother you. If you can tell us your name, what community you're logging in from. Let's start with, I see Shannon.
Hi,
Hi,
can you
Shannon.
hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I am a youth health coordinator for the Iron County Health Coalition. I retired from teaching last year after 25 years of service, and now I'm just finding a new way to help my community.
Great.
Great.
Glad to have you with us. Let's see. I see Janine. Oh, you're muted.
Thank you. Janine Boyer, I'm a retired educator and moved into the Barnard area a year and a half ago. My husband grew up in this area, and I'm part of a betterment community for Barnard and Guilford. I'm just trying to gain some information. And I see Paula McCrae, who is someone I know. So hello, Paula.
Good to see you on. Thanks for joining us.
Uh-huh.
I think I know where Bernard is.
It's up by Maryville.
That's right. I was going to say Nottoway
Yes.
County, one way or the other.
Yes, absolutely. Uh-huh.
I also see Amanda.
And I'm Amanda Sizemore. I'm with St. Charles Community College. And our communities that we serve, predominantly our direct service area is St. Charles County, Pike and Lincoln, Warren, Montgomery, and Callaway counties. So that's our direct service region. We do serve students and individuals and companies that are outside that region on occasion, but that's our primary service area.
Cool.
What about Terry? It's okay if Terry is shy. He may not want it. They may not want to introduce themselves. How about Frida?
Good morning. I hope it's okay if I don't show myself. I didn't know you were going to do this. I'm Frida Ruff. I'm from the community of Hayti Heights, Missouri. I'm just here to see what information I could glean from the conversations.
Yay, Frida.
Yeah.
Hi.
Cool.
I see two different Jessicas. So whoever wants to come off of mute first, you're welcome to.
I'm Jessica Wallace. I'm also from Barnard with Janine, and also part of the kind of a new revamped, I guess, Betterment Foundation group. So kind of looking for some ideas and knowledge.
I'm Jessica Horn, and I'm with the ECC Adult Education Literacy Program and the East Central Area Literacy Council. We oversee Montgomery, Gasconade, Franklin, Crawford, and Phelps County.
And then how about Alex?
Hello, I'm with the Northwest Missouri Regional Council of Governments, a roadway safety director up here, education director up here, and I'm here to just learn. Yeah.
Right. And then Andrew?
Yeah, Andrew McCrae. I'm on the road here, so I don't have my camera on, but Maysville, Missouri is my address, and enjoy topics like this and tend to work with a lot of different communities. So just didn't appreciate the chance to join.
Okay.
Cool.
And then in the chat, I see that Terry said their mic isn't working, but they work with the city of West Plains and the Ozark Heritage Welcome Center. So we've got some good coverage over some different parts of the state today. So that's wonderful.
It is.
As far as introducing ourselves, this is the Missouri Community Betterment Board of Directors. Tanya Watson is our current president. Diana Huckstep is our vice president. Jeff Corman is our secretary. Elaine Campbell is our past president. And then we've also got Stephanie Pryor from Versailles, Jennifer Whitson from Steelville, Paula Holtman McCrae from Maysville, and myself, Elizabeth. I cover actually a lot of different areas, but my office, when I joined MCB, was in Lynn, but I live in Jeff City. And then board members not pictured are Brenna Bontrager and Emily Smith. And then we also have our board assistants, Cece, Kim, and now Darla. And then our treasurer is Ron Hopkins from Mexico, Missouri. So that's us. Our speaker today is Courtney Jimenez from US Bank. She's going to talk to us about charitable trust grant opportunities. So I am going to turn off my screen share and turn the time over to Courtney. I'll keep an eye on the chat if there's any questions or anything. And the time is yours, Courtney.
Perfect. Thank you. I just shared my screen. I don't use Zoom as much. We have switched to Teams. So can you see my slides here?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. I recognize a couple names in a lot of the cities and counties, and a lot of them that were mentioned are specifically referenced in a lot of these trusts that I'm going to be talking about today. So hopefully you all find some great opportunities. So I am a trust officer for US Bank. I've been here for about 7 years, started right out of college. I'm located in St. Joseph, Missouri, so right up in Northwest. And I actually myself grew up in a rural community in Stewartsville, Missouri. We had a population of 700 some, and I graduated from a class of about 17. So I definitely understand the importance and the challenges of living in a rural town. So I was really excited when I got the opportunity to speak with you guys today and learn more about your organization, what Missouri Community Betterment does, and that there is a program like this out there. So super grateful to be speaking with you guys today, and hopefully I can give you some leads and opportunities and just awareness of what's out there. Some people don't know we're here too, so it's a huge benefit for us as well to kind of get the exposure and make more people aware of us. So I manage and oversee hundreds of trust accounts and investment accounts all over Missouri, mostly the Northwest corner. But another part of my role is overseeing and administering charitable trusts and foundations that US Bank has been named as trustee. So we have a big handful of them. In the document has already been named what organizations they want to distribute to or an idea. But there also is another group of charitable foundations that it's kind of open, and that's where we offer grant applications. A lot of trusts are different. They have very specific terms. Some have none. Some have very down to the fine print of who can apply. But I'm here today just to kind of give you guys an overview of the trusts that we do manage in the state of Missouri that do allow grant applications from organizations all throughout the state. So with that, I'll go ahead and get my slide here started. So I'm going to be going through each of the trusts that we have at the US Bank by kind of area. So I'm in St. Joe, so I have a book of trust accounts that I manage. We also have an office in St. Louis, Missouri. They manage a few as well. And then also in South Missouri and Springfield, they have a couple as well. So there's actually 11 total that I'm going to speak to today. But also, if I don't speak about something that falls within your city or your county or your specific organization's need, I do kind of recommend maybe reaching out to other banks that have trust powers. So here in St. Joe, we've got Commerce Bank, We had Citizens Bank and Trust, which just changed its name to, I think, Southern Missouri. But if you have any other banks or trust companies in your areas, I would recommend reaching out to them as well and see if there's any opportunities for grants. Also, if you have any local community foundations in your area, so we partner a lot with the Community Foundation of Northwest Missouri that is actually housed in St. Joe as well. They may have opportunities for grants and charitable foundations that they administer, even scholarships as well. We work with them a lot on scholarships. So if you don't hear something that kind of fits for you, reach out to those other paths and see if that can provide you some assistance as well. So I'll go over each of the offices and the trust accounts that fall with them, and then offer any questions. And at the very end, if you have any other questions about anything else in this kind of realm, I will answer those as well. Okay, so first we'll start off with trust accounts in the St. Joseph, Missouri area. So these are ones that I specifically manage and oversee, and am part of that full grant application process in the committee meetings. So the first one we will talk about is the Gary Taylor Charitable Trust. And I will also give you a little bit of background on some of these grantors and if they had an intent or not. Some of them are silent and we don't disclose that information, but for the 4 that I do, we do have significant information about them and what they were interested in and kind of their areas of interest. So the Gary Taylor Charitable Trust, it was created back in 2012 upon Gary Taylor's passing. He was born in Maryville, Missouri, so Nottoway County. He also attended Skidmore High School, which is in Nottoway County as well. He lived in Maitland, Missouri, which is Holt County. And he was a farmer in those areas, Holt, Nottoway, Andrew. So this trust offers applications from organizations that operate in Northwest Missouri, specifically identified as Holt, Nottoway, Andrew, Atchison, Worth, Gentry, DeKalb, Clinton, and Buchanan. So those are going to be detailed on every slide if there's any like very specific. So if you have an organization that is a 501c3, so and you're in good standing with the IRS, on the application process, we always ask for a copy of your IRS determination letter or some kind of documentation showing your status. So 501c3 in these counties, they meet once a year, typically July, August. Applications are due May 31st each year. And this primary area of interest in the document, it's not specific as to what we are to fund. So it's really up to the committees apart from funding things in these counties. But Gary Taylor was a farmer, so the committee does like to lean more towards anything in the ag, any kind of nonprofit that provides maybe education to students looking to go into ag, or ag safety trainings, or education fields that are centered to ag. And then secondarily, anything in rural Northwest Missouri. So Gary was a member of Maitland, a very small community in that Northwest area. So anything agriculture, anything rural Northwest Missouri. And then apart from that, we don't always get as many ag related requests as we'd like. So the committee will look at just organizations in general and, what the specific need is, specific project. And I will say in general, most charitable trusts, at least here at the bank, do lean a little bit more towards project-based or a specific need. Unless your organization solely operates on just operating funds, then that's apparent as well. But if you do have a specific need or a capital campaign or a project you're working on, those are always great to see. So that's a little bit about the Gary Taylor Charitable Trust. So I'll stop there for just a minute, see if anybody has any questions about that one. And if not, at the end, we'll also have time for questions as well. All right. And I think I mentioned this, but if not, so this one awards approximately about $140,000 a year. So plenty of opportunity there, always looking for great applicants, especially in that ag field. That is that one. The next one that I manage here in St. Joe is the Harry and Helena Messick Charitable Trust. Again, this one, as well as all of the other ones, these are 501c3 in good standing with the IRS. And this one is a little bit similar to the Gary Taylor, and that the organization must operate in Andrew County or the adjacent counties surrounding there. So Andrew, Nottoway, Holt, Buchanan, DeKalb, and Gentry. And I'll give you a little bit of information about the Messick's as well. So this was created by Harry Messick. He passed away in 1988, so we've had this one for quite a long time. And his wife, Helena, who goes by Blanche, in 1993. Harry as well was a farmer in Andrew County, and Blanche was a teacher. They both were born in Bolko, Missouri, very small rural town, and they attended Bolko High School as well as Maryville High School. Harry was a farmer, but he also went to MU and studied ag science. And Blanche Helena also attended MU, got a Bachelor of Science in Education and Home Economics. Later in life, in the 1980s, they both moved to Savannah, Missouri. So this area of interest is obviously Andrew County and this adjacent, but primary areas of interest is, again, agriculture, just with Harry's background, education based on Helena's background, and then rural Northwest Missouri, because that's, kind of where they've grown up. And this one, and they were brother and sister. I think I said wife there, but Harry and Helena were brother and sister. So I want to point that out as well. And this one awards approximately $180,000 a year. So significant there. They meet the same frequency as the Gary Taylor Trust. So they meet annually in July, and applications are also due May 31st. So this is also another rural Northwest Missouri ag. But again, if you're not fully ag or education, if you're just in Northwest Missouri, definitely recommend just submitting an application and seeing what kind of feedback you get. So any questions on the Messick Charitable Trust? Perfect. Okay. All right. The next one we have here in St. Joe is the Norma J. and William J. Kinney Charitable Trust. Again, a 501c3 in good standing. This one does have specifics about the county. So you must operate in Buchanan or the adjacent counties of Andrew, Platte, Clinton, or DeKalb. And I'll tell you a little bit about him. We don't have as much on file, but he passed away back in 2005, so relatively a newer one. He was a St. Joseph resident and a business owner. He owned a pharmacy in St. Joe. We do have a little bit of history of what things he liked to support during his lifetime, but wasn't an overly philanthropic person. And I will also say that as well as about Taylor and Messick. They chose to be philanthropic after their lifetime and leave this legacy to continue on. So that's what they did with their wealth. So he, like I said, was a St. Joe resident, a business owner, and he lived in the south side of St. Joseph. So that is a primary area of interest for the community. So they first look at organizations in Buchanan County, specifically in the south side of St. Joe. So they've supported many projects in that part of town, but they also welcome any applications from any of the other adjacent Andrew County, Platte, Clinton, DeKalb. And this one awards approximately about $160,000 a year. So a significant amount as well. And they meet twice a year. They like to meet in the spring and the fall. April, October timeframe. Applications are March 30th and September 30th deadlines. So typically apply once a year in either spring or fall. I always recommend people to apply in the spring just because they will give out about half the amount of funding. But if they're interested in the others and they don't want to go over that half, they will table it for the fall meeting. So if you get it in the spring, you might be able to have an opportunity to be looked at twice. So those are the deadlines and restrictions, and primary area of interest is the south side of St. Joseph in Buchanan County. Any questions on the Kinney Charitable Trust? Okay. All right. And the fourth and final one that we do have in St. Joseph that we manage that is open to applications is the Harold P. Dugdale Charitable Trust. This was created in 1970 upon Harold Dugdale's passing. He also had a wife, Alma. They were both St. Joseph residents. They owned a Dugdale packing company, which was sold upon his death. Alma was from the King City, Missouri area originally, so Northwest Missouri. And they also were philanthropic during their lifetimes with education. They funded many scholarships at MU for meat processing, because that's what their meat packing company was in St. Joe. This one funds about $160,000 annually. And you'll notice here there's nothing in bold. So in the document, the trust document, there's no reference to a specific county or city or any area of interest. So what the committee has chosen to do is look at the organizations that the Dugdales supported during their lifetime, because they were philanthropic. So we do have a list of, I would say, less than 10 organizations that they repeatedly funded. And so any applications from those 10 are looked at first. But with $160,000, there's still plenty of to go around. So primary areas of interest, just based on them, is the list of historic gifting, which is primarily in the St. Joseph, Missouri area, but also anything in meat industry, or the College of MU, any kind of educational purposes there. But also it's wide open. So if you have a national or regional or even a state organization that maybe falls within some of the list of what the other organizations that they have supported during their lifetime, those kind of things have been funded in the past, and they're all over the place. There's arts, there's education, there's youth, there's services for men and women. So this one is our broadest application that we do see a wider realm of applicants from. And that one, if I didn't mention, they're in line with the Kinney Trust as well. They meet in spring and fall. March 30th, September 30th are the deadlines. And as I mentioned before, it's always good to get it into the spring, because they will consider you again in the fall if they don't want to give out too much funds in one meeting versus the other. Any questions about the Dugdale Charitable Trust?
Yes. How are the award amounts determined? Is it, do you ask for a certain amount, or they determine what amount they will give?
Great question. So on these four, the St. Joseph accounts, we have a application template, and it'll ask you about your project or your need and what category it falls in. And then also it specifically asks how much you're looking for and how much you've secured already, if it's a project or something in those lines. So they do give out $160,000 a year. I would say, though, they typically gift things in like the $5,000 to $10,000 range, or a lot of them $1,000, $2,000. So if you have a larger project, you could always put a larger amount in there. I don't think that will turn away anybody, but they most likely would give a partial distribution. So if you ask for a bigger request, it may not always be fully funded if it's a larger amount, but you will specify the exact amount on the application. But great question. And I was going to mention this too. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just thanking you for the information.
Okay, perfect. And I will share the four, at least the St. Joe ones, the applications with either Elizabeth or Cece, and get that information out. And at the end, I will have contact information for myself, as well as the other trust officers that manage the specific trusts. So that way, if the application isn't provided to you guys, then you can contact the specific trust officer and inquire about that. So, great question. Any other questions about the Dugdale Charitable Trust?
I was just going to mention that for MCB members present, I think we can upload those applications to our login portion of our website too, which may help them find that. So look forward to that coming.
Yes, that would be great. And we very rarely make changes to our application processes, but if you ever find yourself submitting something and you notice that the application date is older, I've seen 10 plus years old applications and the contact information is generally the only thing that changes. So I've been here for 7 years, so there may be a different contact information, but there are times when the committees will add a question or something very specific. So you'll always feel free to reach out to the trust officer to make sure that you have the most recent copy of any application, but I'd be happy to provide what we currently have. All right. Any other comments or questions on Dugdale? Okay. If not, we'll move on to the charitable trusts that are managed out of the St. Louis, Missouri office. I did hear a couple people, or I think Amanda, I wrote down, you're in that area. So hopefully one of these may fall within that. If not, like I said, reach out to any other banks or community foundations you may have in your area. So St. Louis, we have the Charles W. Fries and Jean H. Fries Foundation. Again, this is qualifications as a 501c3 in good standing. And the purpose of this foundation is to render financial aid, gifts, assistance, and the treatment, care, research in the field of developmentally and physically disabled children. So this is one of those charitable trusts that is very specific about their intent and what they want to help support and what the meaning behind the trust was created for. So I do have a little bit of information about this one. So this was created back in 2006 by Charles and Jean upon their death of their son, Richard Fries. Richard Fries was a developmentally challenged from birth and lived most of his life in a planned community designed to enhance the lives of adults with developmental disabilities. It was the Fries' wish to establish a foundation that will assist those with the treatment, care, research, and conduct research to benefit children with similar developmental and physical disabilities as their son, Richard. So this one has no county or state restrictions at all. It just has to fall within some kind of a program, research, aid for any children with disabilities and that kind of field. So it's a little specific, but open to anyone really anywhere. It doesn't even have to be the state of Missouri. And this one is a smaller trust. It does award about $50,000 a year.
Well, let's just see how she does.
And some of these I was going to mention too. The first four I personally manage, so I know a lot about the committees and the grantors. The rest of these are information I was provided from other trust officers. So if I don't have an answer, I'd be happy to get your contact information, or you can certainly get in touch with them. They'd probably be the best resource, but I'm going off the information I do have. So hopefully that gives you enough to help you there. So any questions about the Fries Foundation? And they do meet once a year. As you can see, their deadline is October 31st. All right. We'll go on to the next one here in the St. Louis area. This is the William R. Edgar Charitable Foundation. And this one is a little different. So it has a grant, has two features to it, a grant opportunity, but also a scholarship piece of it. So I actually have never seen one like this. So interesting. But I'll read a little bit about the history on this one. So it was created in 1998 by William R. Richard Edgar IV. He was a lifelong resident of Ironton, Missouri. He made his fortune as a third-generation attorney in Iron County. His will was created. It created this charitable foundation with the bulk of his estate for the benefit and development of Iron County and its residents. His strong desire is to assist the residents of Ironton and Iron County in many different ways. So he established a separate scholarship program to for his further intent to assist graduates of the Ironton Public Schools, specifically Arcadia Valley High School. And the second piece of it, the foundation also award grants to tax-qualified organizations that the Board of Control believes will best benefit the citizens of Iron County by fulfilling one of the specific purposes set forth. So I've detailed. Oh, go ahead.
I'm from Iron County, and my daughter was. It's a very generous grant because my daughter qualified for the scholarship. It was $3,000 a year towards her college tuition, and if you qualified, and it was based strictly on attendance to school, a GPA, and maybe a basic ACT score to qualify. And even if she goes back to graduate school, it would still pay for parts of that. It was all 4 years of college. So that's a very generous one. It also pays for stuff throughout the county, like I'm on the ambulance district. But that's very generous grant.
Thank you for mentioning that. That's wonderful. I had wrote your name down, so this one I thought may ring some bells. So that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And the trust officer that manages this, there's a very big application for that, and it details some of those requirements. I think it's like a 3.0 GPA, attendance qualifications, that you attend the Arcadia Valley High School. Is that the only high school in that county?
No, the Iron County has actually 4 separate school districts. There's South Iron, Arcadia Valley, and Viburnum that all have high schools. I do know that they do go and they work with the colleges, but they also, when the kids are in college, they look at their GPA in college as well. And her freshman year, she was a little bit below a 3. I think she was at a 2.8. And she was on probation her first year, but it continued. She met, she increased that the last. In fact, she thought it was only good for 2 years. So her third year, she didn't renew the application, and I called, and the lady that oversaw that trust was so easy to work with. She's like, no, we can get that fixed for you. And so she didn't get it her third year, but she did her senior year. But yeah, they do inspect their GPAs.
Yeah, we manage a handful of charitable trusts that are similar to this. They're scholarships. I didn't include them, but if you have any interest, we actually partner with the Community Foundation of Northwest Missouri here in St. Joe. So we have 3 scholarship trusts. They're for Buchanan and surrounding areas in Northwest Missouri, but we also have those. I didn't include them because this is charitable grants, but I see this one on here. So if anybody is in the Northwest Missouri area, I would recommend going to the Community Foundation of Northwest Missouri's website, and there's a Scholar Link portal. And it's really nice. I don't know if other areas of Missouri do this, but there's one application and it will filter to, I don't even know, I'm sure 100 scholarships. And so they fill out one application. It's very detailed. And then trusts and individuals like our office will get all of these, and we can filter them and figure out if there's specific. So if you are in the Northwest Missouri area and you have students or know of anybody, I recommend going and filling out the Scholar Link application on the Community Foundation's website. So thank you for mentioning that. And that's wonderful. That's a huge, huge blessing. So yes, this one has 2 factors, the scholarship portion, and then the grant applications for Iron County. And the trust document, I put some of the provisions here. It's kind of broad. So any worthy charities, anything for the advancement of nonprofit, scientific, and technical projects of potential value and benefit to the development of Ironton and Iron County, or to educational, literary, and nonprofit, civic, and secular charitable organizations. So pretty broad there. Worthy charities could just be any charity in good standing with the IRS. So I put the deadlines here for scholarships. Those are due February 15th each year. And for grant applications, August 15th each year. And they have a very thorough application for scholarships as well as grants. And at the end, I'll have the contact information for the trust officer that manages this one, which is Bethany Springer, if that may have been the person you spoke to, may not. I will note on this one, they in Mr. Edgar's will, he was an estate attorney himself. So he was very specific about his wishes. He does have some things that they will not grant. So they will not grant anything political causes or candidates or for-profit entities, any churches or religious organizations, or any charitable organizations that are affiliated with any church or religious organization. They will not fund regular operating costs or support fundraising dinners, courtesy advertising, or other benefits. So those are some specifics of the things the grants will not fund. And this one, it looks like the grant portion of it, they award about $140,000 a year. Any questions about the Edgar Charitable Foundation, either scholarships or the grant process?
I just wanted to point out that South Iron County used to be a very active community organization in MCB, and we sure would like to have them back.
And I see there's a chat here too from Norman. Mr. Edgar was a very dignified lawyer, a wonderful fellow. His foundation made a grant to the AV Sports Complex early on. He's made, I think there might be a website for this foundation itself. But yes, there's a very significant amount of funds that have been given out to that community since his passing. So a very big legacy, it sounds like. Thank you. Any other questions or comments on this one? All right. The next St. Louis managed trust account is the Ephraim Block Charitable Trust, 501c3 in good standing. And this one is very specific as well. So grant submissions must come from organizations looking to assist those of the Jewish faith. So very specific intent. And I'll go ahead and read some of the background on this one that I received. So this was created upon the death of Ephraim Block in 1984. It was his wish to establish a foundation that will support organizations that focus on alleviating the suffering and burdens of poverty of persons of the Jewish faith. It was established in loving memory of his parents, Louis and Sarah Block, his sisters and brother, Flora and Francis, Dina and Jacob. And again, this one is specific to organizations looking to assist those of the Jewish faith. There's no county or state restrictions at all. And this one is a very, very large one. It awards approximately $240,000 a year. So even though it's very specific, if you have or are aware of any other organizations in your guys' area that may somehow have projects or any assistance to anybody within the Jewish faith, this would be a great one. I'm sure they're always looking for applications. Any questions on the Ephraim Block Charitable Trust? All right. So those were the St. Louis trusts. Now we'll move on to the Springfield, Missouri. These are managed out of our Southern Trust office. So the first one here, let me check my pronunciation. Okay. The Leela Hewer Charitable Trust. Again, this accepts applications from 501c3s. And this one specifically is for organizations primarily in Laclede and Howell counties. However, they do award grants to organizations that are nationally and internationally. So not a requirement, but their primary focus looks like in those Laclede and Howell counties. There is a website I put here. It's got a bunch of information about the foundation itself. And this is one of those trusts where they have created a foundation manager that oversees a lot of the information and the committees and those meetings. So if you look at this website, I pulled some information from there that I'll share with you. So she Leela lived most of her life in the Lebanon area. She was a member of the Candok Baptist Church and a great supporter of missions in Haiti. A very generous woman who did numerous good deeds, including establishing several scholarships for pre-medical students at Drury University. This foundation grants are concentrated in several broad areas, as you'll see on this slide here. So education with emphasis on health scholarships, broad national health issues, animals, and they also have an interest in pilot programs that are specifically like startup groups for disadvantaged youth and their families. And they also are interested in assisting programs to increase the quality of life in senior citizens. So pretty broad: health, animals, pilot programs for youth, senior citizens, primarily looking at the Laclede, Howell counties, but they do welcome applications from all of the others. This one is a smaller trust that gives out about $45,000 to $50,000 a year. And the applications, they meet once a year, and August 1st is the deadline. And if you go to this website, actually, I believe you can apply online, and all of the qualifications, restrictions, committee members' information, manager that oversees this foundation's information is all there as well. Any questions about the Leela Hewer Charitable Trust? All right. We'll go on to the next Springfield, Missouri Trust. This is the Roy Slusher Foundation. These grants are made to organizations in Taney County. I think that's how you pronounce that. Taney County and the surrounding regions. They meet twice a year. Applications are due March 1st and August 1st. And they're a little similar in some of the needs to the last trust we talked about, but I'll give you a little bit of a background on this one. So the Roy Slusher Foundation is the legacy of a man who combined extraordinary vision and leadership qualities with a genuine concern for human well-being. It was the wish of Roy and his beloved wife, Nora, that a major portion of their wealth be used to give others an opportunity to advance their capabilities. Since its inception in 1988, it has distributed $7.3 million to nonprofit organizations in Southwest Missouri and groups elsewhere in the world. So their areas of primary interest are educational scholarships, broad national health issues, poverty and hunger, senior citizens programs, and youth camps and programs. And I will note they're also interested in any startup pilot programs to meet the needs of disadvantaged youth or their families, or again, to help with the quality of life for senior citizens. They did have one note on here that grants are not usually made for routine operating needs, annual fundraising, or endowments. So they're one of those ones that are specifically looking for a project or program, capital campaign, well, not a capital campaign. They don't do annual funding, but one of those very specific projects. They do not do operating. This is a larger trust as well. They give out approximately $250,000 a year. And again, this is in the Taney County and surrounding regions. Any questions on the Slusher Foundation? Okay. And the next one here, we have two more. The Fred and Rebecca Hughes Charitable Trust. This is for grants are made for the furtherance and development of public charitable, public educational, and public municipal purposes that may be in the public interest of the citizens of the city of Joplin and the surrounding Southwest Missouri. I'll give you a little bit of background on this one. Fred Hughes passed away in 1996. He was a former owner and publisher of the Joplin Globe newspaper. He and his wife, Rebecca Hughes, established this trust in 1983, and it became fully funded after her passing in 2004. And it's their wish to support the deserving institutions operating in the Joplin area and Southwest Missouri where they spent their lives. They do not have any specific areas of interest other than primary of the city of Joplin. However, there are a couple organizations referenced in their trust document that they do give preference to, and those are the Joplin Public Library, the First Presbyterian Church of Joplin, the University of Missouri Law School, and the University of Missouri School of Journalism. This trust is smaller. It does distribute about $45,000 a year. Any questions or comments about the Hughes Charitable Trust? All right. We will go on to the last one that we have here is the Risedale Charitable Trust. This one does not have any background information or information on the grantors. That is not disclosed. So one of those specific situations where it's not anonymous, the name is there, but there's not a lot of information. This is a smaller trust. It gives out at about $18,000 a year, and it supports programs which are sponsored or operated by governmental units or agencies or by organizations which have been determined to be a publicly supported charity that provides services to the elderly residing in Polk County, Missouri. So their primary area of interest is services provided to the elderly as well as hospice care, specifically in Polk County, Missouri. And they meet once a year and their deadlines are March 1st. So if you have any organizations in that Polk County area that help with the elderly or hospice care, definitely feel free to reach out to that team in the Springfield, Missouri office. So any questions about the Risedale Charitable Trust? All right. So those are the 11 that we currently have that accept applications in the state of Missouri that U.S. Bank administers. As I mentioned before, we have a handful, we have a lot of other ones, but they have very specific named beneficiaries. So applications are not accepted from outside, but all of these 11 and all of their various requirements and counties and cities and needs that they've specified. If you have any information, these are your contact people for each of them. So the 4 from St. Joe, that is myself, Courtney Jimenez, located here in St. Joe. We have Bethany Springer. She's located in the St. Louis, Missouri area. And we have 2 trust officers, Becky Bonner and Tasha Cooper. The first 2 were for Becky Bonner. So those would be the Leela Hewer Charitable Trust and the Roy Slusher Foundation. Those were with Becky. And if you're interested in the Hughes Charitable Trust or the Risedel, that would be Tasha Cooper. Or if you have any questions about maybe any other contacts in the community, these might be great people to work with. I know I work with other trust officers at other banks here in town, and I have their contact information. So even if you're interested in maybe other contacts that they may have or I may have, feel free to reach out as well. And again, if you're don't fall under any of these categories, I recommend reaching out to any banks or charitable or trusts that in your area or your local community foundation of Northwest Missouri, Community Foundation of the Ozarks. I'm sure there's plenty others in your areas. So I will open it up for any questions at all about any of those charitable trusts or anything at all in that area.
Is there any U.S. Bank facilities closer to mid-Missouri at all?
We have obviously U.S. banks all over the entire state, but the specific, they're all over the entire state, but we have specific offices that are dedicated to the management of trust accounts, specifically charitable. So at this point, the only offices that manage these types of accounts are St. Joe, St. Louis, Springfield, those 3.
Okay. Well, that's what I was assuming. I was hoping there might be one in Columbia, Jefferson City, or even Rolla. I know there's a U.S. Bank in Rolla. I'm almost certain, but I do understand they got some specialization here. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've heard they've thrown out that idea in the Columbia market. I think they're trying to expand that one just in wealth management in general. I don't know if maybe they've even hired maybe a couple people to get their feet on the ground, feel it out to see if there's a need there to have a wealth office. But these are the wealth offices currently. A lot of people, especially since COVID, work from home. So some of my members on my team live in different parts of the state. But yes, we don't have a dedicated wealth office or trust department in the Columbia area yet, but hopefully at some point we can expand there.
Thank you. Sounds good.
Thank you. Right. Any other questions for me about charitable trusts or U.S. Bank or contact information?
Courtney, if there's anyone here thinking about, ways they can leave a lasting legacy for their community or their area, can you speak to that a little bit for folks?
Sure. So we obviously come upon these when someone is doing their estate planning, and it may be for a variety of reasons. Maybe they don't have children of their own or family that they're close with. We see a lot of agriculture farmers, farmers that have a love of farmland. They're not sure what to do with it upon their passing. Maybe there's not a relative or someone, but I encourage everybody, even if you're not a wealth management client or anything like that, to always do your estate planning with any local attorneys such as Mr. Edgar. And if you're looking to leave a lasting legacy, charitable foundations are really one of the most important things. One of the favorite parts of my job, I manage hundreds of charitable trust investment accounts over in Northwest Missouri, but there's only a few that are like this, where you get to really see that lasting impact and legacy. So it really starts with estate planning, which starts with your attorney. We do have financial planners that can assist with that process. But really it kind of starts with your attorney. So it's almost, I wish we could get a bunch of attorneys in the room to talk about, advising these types of things with their clients. But and I did want to mention too, some of these charitable trusts. So like the Gary Taylor that I mentioned before, he was a farmer, and a lot of his wealth came from all of the land that he had accumulated over his lifetime, and had for a very long time, and managed himself. And there's a piece of that, if you upon your passing don't want to see that sold or liquidated and put into a charitable foundation, there are ways to maintain some of that. So keeping a portion of the farmland and having a farm tenant that generates that income to pay out those gifts, and then having some liquidity. So not only are you leaving a legacy and providing funds to your communities or the state of Missouri, but you also, your piece of farmland is still intact, and that's its own legacy, I think, as well. So it starts with estate planning. If you don't, I would recommend everybody doing their own estate planning. But if you're ever thinking about wanting to leave some kind of legacy like that, that's what I would recommend.
Thank you.
Courtney, thank you so much for coming and speaking to us today. I'm going to switch back to my slideshow just real quick when we wrap this up. Thank you so much for sharing all your knowledge with us. I think everything you had to share was really impactful and can really help a lot of people. We've obviously given you guys some time to ask questions, and you've also got contact information if you have, if you think of some after. I know that's how I always am. I think of things after the fact. But we've also got the MCB Better Together Fund, which we're working on right now, trying to help continue the Missouri Community Betterment Legacy. Here's some information on this slide about it. But then we've also got, here, I'm going to scoot forward to this next one real quick, and then I'll back up. But we've also got this little QR code, so that if you ever wanted to scan it with your phone, that can take you right there. If that's easier for you, I know that's easier for me. So that's something that we're working on right now. If you want to get in touch with other Missouri Community Betterment information and keep track, these are our different contact informations, our website, our email, our YouTube and our Facebook. Our recordings of our lunch and learns go up on our YouTube, and we try and keep track of those and record those. So if there's something that you didn't write down and you're like, oh, I wonder what she said at this one point, you can always keep track of us there. And then here are our upcoming lunch and learn dates for the next few months, and we hope that you'll join us and hear from some other great resources that we've reached out to. Thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. If anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out, and I will share that contact information and the applications that I can with you, so you can share with the rest of everybody today. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Courtney.
Thank you all.
Yes, Courtney, you did a great job. And Elizabeth, could you show your very first slide again?
I can. Let me pull that right back up.
The one that was talking about the matching funds. Okay.
Oh, okay. I got you. Let me back up to that. Oh, if it will let me. There we go.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to be able to talk to our group about that, and it just went so fast. I was like, oh, wait. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Have a great afternoon, everybody.
Thank you.